Ethiopia is at a very exciting moment with a major political reform agenda being implemented. And this started a little over a year ago when Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came into office. And with major political steps, including the release of all political partners and opening up political space in Ethiopia in sort of like a big tent approach, where all the opposition groups, including the ones that are exiled, are invited back to the country, and repressive laws that have in the past strangled civil society and media are reformed and are being reformed. So major political opening up happening in Ethiopia in terms of expanding the democratic and political space. And it's against this background that Ethiopia is heading to elections scheduled in 2020. So this is a huge opportunity for consolidating democratic gains in Ethiopia and electoral democracy in Ethiopia. This is probably going to be the second time Ethiopia is going to be experimenting with a genuinely competitive electoral democracy. So the support of EU and ECES at this point in terms of strengthening the entire electoral process and the electoral stakeholders, including the National Election Commission, but also civil society and media, is extremely critical at this point. A risk of violent conflict is a factor that needs to be considered in Ethiopian political dynamics. This is because the political landscape is charged with polarized politics along ethnic lines. In the past few months, there have been unfortunate incidents like conflicts and clashes along ethnic lines, which led to displacement of hundreds of thousands of people, and some violent conflicts that led to the deaths of innocent people as well. So as Ethiopia enters into an election environment with ethnically charged and polarized politics, there is a risk of violent conflict, which is deeply worrying. I am aware that the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia is live to this reality and taking measures to minimize, to prevent and to manage potential conflict. But it's not only the task for the National Election Board, it's also the task for civil society and media to play their role in, in preventing, in managing potential post-election conflict and violent situation. The appointment of Ms. Birtukan Mideksa as the chairperson of the National Election Board of Ethiopia was a huge step that was needed to build the confidence and credibility of the institution among Ethiopians. In the past, institutions like the election board and other democratic institutions in Ethiopia really suffered from credibility crisis, So the measure by the new administration in Ethiopia to bring someone like Birtukan with a huge political stature and credibility in Ethiopia was a much needed measure to build an independent electoral institute in Ethiopia. And Birtukan's appointment was followed by additional commission members. Well, in Ethiopia it's called Electoral Board. So the Electoral Board now has 4 more additional board members who have been elected with a transparent process, and people who have been elected on the basis of their professional competence, integrity and credibility in a society. So all of them are credible professionals, credible Ethiopian citizens who help to strengthen the National Election Board of Ethiopia. Upcoming election in Ethiopia is a critical part of consolidating the reform agenda, but the debate whether or not Ethiopia is ready to organize an independent election is quite a debatable one, and strong arguments on both sides. But it's very critical that Ethiopia organizes and delivers a credible election to help consolidate the reform agenda. And there are different interests and political organizations whether organized along ethnic lines or some of them organized on a national agenda. What is very important for Ethiopia is to be able to organize and deliver a credible and peaceful election to continue to consolidate the reform agenda.